Hi, listeners. Welcome to another weekly Melting Pot episode. Today, my guest is a very, very young director of photography. Her name is Shreya Dev Dube, and I'm in conversation with her. She's in Mumbai, and I'm in Singapore. Hi, Shreya. Thank you for being a part of Melting Pot.
Thank you for having me, Payal.
So I know we were we sort of started a conversation before I started recording. So I would really love to get back into that again, where you mentioned, the fact about being, when you started out, you were a struggling creative person. But I just wanted to start off with a little background on you. Which part of India are you from? Where did you actually do your formal education in terms of, the creative aspect of it? And what, because I know that it was not in India, which is what I read up about you. And then what kind of brought you back to Mumbai? And then we can start talking about your journey from there.
Okay. My mother, I was born in Calcutta. My mom's Assamese Bengali from, the armpit of the world, Silchar. It's like a small town in the border of Bangladesh and Assam.
Okay.
And father is from North India, Jaunpur, So I think they met. My dad used to play cricket for India. He used to play Ranji Trophy and a lot of test matches. So my parents and my grandfather was a politician, so they shifted from Assam to Delhi. So I guess that's when, in the 80s, we were shifted to Delhi, and I have a younger sister who's also a filmmaker. And so that's where I'm really actually from, but I've been all over the place. I was in a boarding school in Dehradun for about 8-9 years, so from a very young age. So that's where primarily a lot of my education happened, in the foothills of the Himalayas. And then after that, I came to Bombay, um, uh, and studied what they call bachelor's in mass media, which is an absolutely average degree, because coming from like an ICSE school, what we were taught in college, university level of Maharashtra wasn't very interesting or intriguing, especially in the world of mass media, because we don't necessarily in India have very good film schools, other than like a few which are governmentally run. So then, I was fortunate enough at that time to this university from Melbourne, Australia, had come down and had given us this opportunity to transfer our undergraduate degree to Melbourne. So I packed my bags and ran. I didn't do anything. And at that time, I think, studying abroad in America was extremely expensive. So it was not even something I wanted to indulge in when I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to pursue in the future. So that was great, and that's when.
So when you started doing this mass media course,
Yeah,
you did not really know which area of media you wanted to get into. Is it like a general course?
that, yes, was definitely a general course, which you eventually in the third year could choose either journalism or advertising. But I wasn't intrigued by either. And but I kind of picked up the camera in school at the age of 17, 18, my dad's camera, and I started making a few pictures, and I was quite intrigued by image making just in general, but got a chance to shoot a lot on film. So, and my father's old camera, and then I got another one from my aunt. So I was very lucky to have, good equipment like film camera to be able to kind of just learn while I was testing and shooting possibly everything you see in front of
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Then everything seems to have a story behind it, right?
At least, of importance in your mind.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So then when I went to Melbourne to study, it was definitely something to do with cinema or photography, but yes, but it was amazing because then I got to work in the dark room, print my own images. The infrastructure abroad compared to Bombay and what we're used to was so brilliant. I'll never forget, like, like I was like so excited when I went to the archive of like, incredible films that they had just available on like, DVDs and all of that. You could actually, because I remember I have older cinematographer friends who would say that, who are in their 50s, 40s now, and they were like, there was nothing even called as referencing at that time. Here in India, we had to drive to Pune to the FTII Institute, to actually kind of take out the 35 films to watch old cinema. So I must say, I'm glad that I had that opportunity. And then once studied photography and I was exposed to experimental cinema. And I came back to India and I worked as an AD, which was something a very satisfying job, if I may say so. Especially if you don't find the very right, inspiring filmmakers to work with.
Yeah, yeah. So that was a bit of your struggle.
Yeah, I guess it was very much a learning experience. I mean,
Yeah,
those things, it was good to know what I do not want to do. So it was great to indulge in a lot of things, and digital imagery was just beginning then, you see. So it was cheaper to be able to experiment instead of developing and buying 35 of super 16 film and
yeah.
making small short films, etc. So that was, I was very fortunate where we, one could like afford a camera and just find your eye, keep trying to shoot and see and discover what you're actually good at. And then when I knew that it's definitely image making, I went to Paris, and I applied in the International Film School of Paris, the Eicar, and I studied cinematography and made a few films. And I was there for about 2.5, 3 years. But being
And
in the city, Payal, you can imagine,
yeah,
it's like education in itself.
yeah, completely. I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, every frame has a story to tell, right? It's,
Mhm.
I can imagine you must have really captured so much while you were there. And that experience, I think, probably coming back, I don't know if it held you in good stead, if you were able to transfer some of that experience into what you ended up doing in India or not. Because I guess by the time you came back, I'm assuming that things had changed, and the format was a lot more um, how shall I say, a lot more current in India, right? When it came to filmmaking.
Mhm.
So were you able to really do that?
Um, yes, I think definitely I did, maybe without making it a conscious decision, because I think that um, uh, how do I put it? Like it was important at, when you, especially when the first time you're exposed to things that you've always craved for in terms of intellectual or visual stimulation, you
Yeah,
cannot forget that, to some degree. And it does make a very big mark on what you like and don't like and what you like to watch or read. So I think that I had such freedom and time to be able to go to a film school and live in a city like Paris, where I was exposed to such incredible art and literature and music and anything cultural.
cultural. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that had made quite big an impact on me. So there was definitely a little bit of those European aesthetics that I was drawn to, but at the same time, I was also exposed to a lot of filmmaking from Southeast Asia or say America. So I think a lot of definitely more independent style of filmmaking is something I was exposed to in Europe, and I think that is something which is still very deeply engraved within me. In some way, which is why I come back to the concept of like struggling for a few years because I chose not to be a part of the commercial
mainstream. Yeah, yeah,
I have hardly shot advertisements, here in India or done a lot of jobs where I didn't necessarily feel inspired by. And it's a luxury, I must say so. Also, it's something that was the reason why I was broke a lot of the time, but it's easy to to live
Yeah,
in a city like Bombay and survive,
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm making a few films of for myself, and so I think it's when the big jobs come to you, I truly feel then you are really truly ready for it, and this struggle to some degree just adds to your ambition and gives you more clarity. So
Yeah.
even though one was struggling and it was difficult, but I must say I wouldn't be the artist who I am today if I hadn't gone through those 4, 5, 3, 6, 10 years of not knowing where I'm going to go. So
Mm. So which one was your first project?
my first feature film.
No, your first, I mean, not just feature, but any project
Yeah,
when you came back to India, was it a short film?
it was a short film. I made one short film in Paris called Round Up Your Forehead, which is like my first year film school film, about like a dinner party that went wrong, you know. And then I kind of came back to India and I did this film. I wrote and directed and did production design. It was like a long process because there wasn't many funds. It's called Glass Bottom Boat.
Oh,
Vivek Gombar acted in it, and Priyanka Bose and Ankur Vikal, just to see that can I do it. I wanted to indulge to see that what can I get better at, or so it was a great learning experience. I personally today can't watch more than 8 minutes of it. But you know I was
but
really
it's been sort of, it's associated with you for life. So there's no turning back on that one. I was, so there's a couple of, actually there are two or three films that I read about and I watched a little bit on YouTube as well. One of them is a short film called BITTU,
Mhm.
which, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a project that your sister and you have done together. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so which has absolute rave reviews from what I heard, I read, and would you? Is it something which is very close to your heart? Because also the storyline is just so.
Mhm.
I mean, there's something so raw about it.
Mhm.
So, do you feel, out of all your projects, do you feel that that one's the one that you're closest to?
Um, it's definitely an extremely special film for me, also because it was one of my first collaborations with my sister Karishma, who was the director writer, and I produced and I was a director of photography of it.
Okay, yeah,
So it was an incredible experience, just like working with her and actually making this film on this mountain for over 6 days. And the actors Rani and Chand are very special to all of us, and it's I guess I can't pick a particular film because they're kind of special in their own
in
way.
different ways. Yeah, yeah, I can
Absolutely,
understand.
BITTU, it's incredible because it made it to, we won the Student Academy Award for it and won the DGA Award, and it also kind of made it to the Oscar top 10. I think it's the shortlist for the Oscars. So it was, what's lovely is that which something like BITTU, which is such a strong film in the sense, like such a great script, but that was made in a very simple, beautiful way, and kept it extremely pure as far as the actors and the performances were concerned. And we didn't really have to gloss it up to be able to tell this visual story.
Yeah,
And I'm just so happy something this pure has made it so far, and so many people have loved it and watched it. And it's definitely one of the only films I've done where there is not much negative reviews. So that's something which is new. But otherwise, it's very dear to my heart. It's dear to all our hearts who worked. We've got like a great team who worked on it. It was a very intimate team. So, um, I'm just hoping we get to make more films with each other, my sister and I. But
oh,
otherwise,
that'll be amazing. Yeah, I mean that truly is special, right?
it is
Have
very
to have that commonality between two
yeah.
siblings. That's quite incredible. Another film that, in fact, I think it was last month that I chatted with Tanmay, And I think Tanmay and you have also worked on a film together because he did mention it to me,
Yes,
where you were the DOP for Cat. What was it called? Cat Sticks, right?
that sticks. Yeah.
Cat Sticks, yeah. So, but that was a feature length film, correct?
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
It was my first feature. We made it for 4 years ago now, almost. It was a black and white film about brown sugar addicts in Calcutta.
Yeah.
It's One Night in the Rain. I'm sure Tanmay told you all about it.
Yeah, he did. And he said, I mean, it was for him, every film that he talked about was closest to his heart. So
Yeah, but that's what happens. It happens when you work with a great team of people. I
yeah,
think that really truly makes the process far more memorable, and I think that's important as 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 we kind of go on forward. I have to keep reminding myself that, I think it's really about gravitating towards the right group of people to make a piece of work. I think that will just help me to continue working for 15, 20 years in a happy state of mind. So
yeah, because I think you then sponge off each other's energy, talent,
yeah,
the connection that you build on. And for cinema or anything creative, I think that plays a very important role, right?
exactly.
Yeah. Just moving away a little. I mean, still staying within the framework, but I was just wondering if there are a lot of women directors of photography in
Mhm.
Indian cinema, not necessarily Hindi cinema, but even regional cinema. Is there a large pool, or is it still very male dominated?
It's definitely a large pool. We have like now a WhatsApp group. I was looking for my phone to get to the exact number, but
Okay.
of like interesting group of women who are either first camera assistants or aspiring cinematographers. And now I think we have about 50, 60 of us in the whole country. And this, is from north, south, east, west of India.
Yeah.
It's really definitely increasing, which is incredible. There is a lot of women gaffers, maybe one or two women gaffers in India, and then we have a lot of female cinematographers. Yes, it's changing.
And so when you came back from Paris, was that the case? Or did you have a different kind of, so you had one struggle of wanting to make meaningful work, and did you also need to struggle between someone kind of working with you versus working with a male DOP? Did you experience that?
When I came back from film school, it was definitely very nice isolated experience because a lot of us women didn't know that we existed. A lot of the women who were cinematographers didn't really know each other. Because
Oh,
so that's why this group or this collective of women, IWCC, is incredible because at least now we have an incredible forum or a group where we can answer each other's questions, share incredible articles, or just, kind of update each other on different technical aspects, or, just things that we would always be very nervous to maybe pick up the phone and ask a senior male DOB. This definitely, it's a difficult working space. We are a country with a lot of misogyny, where there's a lot of, it's a male dominated industry. It's not easy, and the bigger the jobs become, the more, at least I am aware of it, because in smaller projects you choose and you are working with people you feel you have a connection with, and a little bit more that is in control of the
yeah.
kind of people that you hire. And the more bigger jobs that I do, one tends to work with people who've been doing this for years and not necessarily used to working with female cinematographers. But it's not an easy, it's something that we are still dealing with and kind of finding our own relationship with it. But it's important to know that we need to keep our um, head and keep it focused as far as work is concerned, and I think that is what truly really speaks.
Yeah.
If you focus on what you're doing and your craft in itself, and just mute all the other noise in the background, I think that's what really speaks and gives you that kind of space and puts you on the map, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. And I think it's good that you've got a community, that's gradually building up, and you're enablers for each other, which is just so special. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, what are some of the interesting projects that you're working? Oh, yeah. I wanted to also ask you about Raw Mango.
Mhm.
So, what exactly is Raw Mango?
Raw Mango is a very celebrated brand of Indian clothing. Sanjay Garg is the designer, and
Okay.
he makes some really wonderful saris. And so he's also visually has a great aesthetic, and he loves making films and fashion films and just pieces and mood meditative pieces of video that kind of express what his brand is about. So I shot with him twice. I think we've also made a short film with Meeta Bashir, which I think he's still editing.
Oh,
But
okay.
otherwise,
Okay. Yeah, because your name came up as being associated with Raw Mango, and I didn't really know what Raw Mango was. I didn't know it was a brand of
love the
clothing.
sarees.
Sorry?
You love the sarees of Raw Mango.
I love the fabric. It looked really interesting, but I couldn't quite understand, and because it's like multiple clips. So
Yeah.
I said, okay, I need to ask you what it
Uh,
is because it was
Sometimes
quite,
nowadays fashion designers are also kind of not making narrative pieces of work, but visual, because Instagram has changed the medium so drastically, even the way it's like photographed, the aspect ratio of it. So it's
yeah.
interesting. We just want to give you the feel and the mood of their collection of the season. And I think, so that's nice because we are trying to do different genres and different styles of advertising, for lack
Correct. And
of
not just the
yeah,
traditional advertising, sending a message and that's it. And no care in the world about the aesthetics as long as a message is conveyed. Yeah. So yeah, no, I think that's interesting. And that's where I guess you would step in as well with
Mhm,
your creativity
mhm.
and your camera, um, what the camera captures, I think would also be quite interesting. And and I can see that in whatever little clips I have seen of the films that you've been associated with. So yeah, so coming back to any new exciting projects that you can actually talk about.
Um, I operated camera for A Suitable Boy, Mira Nair's
Yeah. Yeah.
wonderful series on BBC and Netflix. That was an incredible project to work on. It was
So were you there right through all the episodes or?
was there. We shot all the episodes over the whole schedule, so it was not that they shot it episodically. So one can't really point the finger as which bits that I was and it was not there. I kind of joined halfway through the project. A month later, it was a three month schedule, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay.
Um, and I was operating camera for Declan Quinn, who's Mira's long. I think they photographed Monsoon Wedding together and a few other films of ours. So I was operating. So he was the director of photography, and I was operating the camera for him, and it was amazing. I mean, because I kind of got to work with some masters, and
Yeah.
each of these were brilliant, and I learned a lot. So that was a great experience working with Mira. She's a dear friend. Um,
Mhm. So there is, I guess, with technology and the advancement of technology, it would hold true for cinema as well, right?
yeah.
So do you, in terms of the medium,
Mhm.
are you, because it's now sort of moved away from film to digital, I don't know whether it's more convenient or whether the digital medium is you're able to capture a lot more. I'm not obviously I don't have the understanding of
No,
it.
but you're right, because of course, one has the freedom to not be worried about how much film you are exposing, which is, of course, an expensive, um, um, medium. But
So are you saying that film is more expensive than digital?
it,
On the camera is
it really depends on a lot of other factors as well. I
okay.
mean, some believe as well that you may shoot digitally, but as far as the post production of digital imagery is concerned, it can be as expensive as shooting and printing film.
Yeah.
So, but it really depends from project to project, and depends on the scope of like post production, by which I mean like color correction, VFX,
Yeah.
etc., that
Yeah.
comes to another film. So yeah, but otherwise, I think it should be. I mean, at least I hope that depending on every project that I am working on, one can think about which camera or lenses to use, which fits that particular project, or whether to shoot it on film or digitally.
Right.
Because nowadays, I mean, at least the digital cameras that the Alexa is making are incredible. I mean, even the native grain, that's the texture within the image. If you're underexposing it or overexposing it, is beautiful. At least as far as I'm concerned, I love it.
Hmm.
So I think it depends on what the director wants and the look of the film. And
And is it something that you can also um, make suggestions
of
for?
course,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, of course, in the end of the day, this is a business, and there's money involved. And it really depends. I mean, the producers call the shot on how much they can or cannot spend on different departments.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of work backwards in that sense. But, if you have an incredible connection with your team, and the project requires particular something, there's always, hopefully scope for conversation, where
Yeah.
you can convince the others to,
Yeah.
put more money in it.
Because I guess it's a creative process, right?
Yes.
So yeah, yeah. So I mean, if it's done collectively, I think the impact would be a lot more. How shall I say? Not fascinating, but a lot more impressive and a lot more together. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I absolutely get that. So for you, then, the aesthetics is what makes you decide on whether you would prefer film for a certain project or you'd prefer digital.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I have Melting Pot has a lot of listeners from doing multiple things from different walks of life. So I have like some listeners who are young, who are sort of stepping into trying to figure out what they want to do in with their lives, and there are others who have already kind of stepped into that but now want to do something different. So for listeners who are young and and who have just come out of film school or who are wanting to get into film school, what kind of, given your experience, what, and you're young, and there's a lot that you have gone through in such a short span of your education plus career, what kind of advice would you give in terms of inspiring them?
I have just come off a very difficult schedule of 2.5 months, extremely physically exhausting schedule in Rajasthan of a film. So I'm actually right now in a space where I am compiling all my thoughts and thinking about every, what I've done wrong or right, what I can
Yeah.
take back from it and remember. So I don't know whether I'm in the right state of mind to be able to give advice to aspiring filmmakers, but I think that it's really the fact that one has to possibly explore everything as far as, your interests are concerned, and actually indulge in it, with some amount of sincerity, to know what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are, and then to, of course, use that information that you can get over years, or while working on your own personal projects, or with other friends, etc., that will be able to just assist you, and they become tools, and it'll eventually help you to make good choices as to what you want to do with yourself. Because now we're a different generation from my friends who are in their 40s and who are incredible artists, because things are, in the last 10, 12 years, has progressed quite drastically for us, as far as that the internet is concerned, or the idea of independent cinema becoming very much integrated into the industry here in India. It was when I was 21, 22, when I came back, it was like a first few interesting films had gone to Cannes, like Udan, Vikram Motwani's film. So things had changed. The audiences were India were getting used to watching films which were not necessarily melodramatic. So I feel
it was sort of evolving the appreciation, the acceptance
yeah,
of alternative cinema was kind
yeah.
of evolving. Okay. Yeah.
It was definitely, it is evolving even now, but definitely changed a lot over the last 10, 15 years, 10
Mhm.
years, 12 years. It's not that a lot of the people in India didn't watch interesting independent films that have been made by foreign filmmakers. It's just that we were not used, there was not that kind of content made in India from the 90s onwards. Of course, there are some incredible Guru Dutt films and Ray films and all of that,
Yeah, yeah.
And, so I think that now is the time to really kind of explore who we are, investigate our own strengths and weaknesses as artists, and then use that information and just constantly keep polishing and refreshing it, and and live and learn, and throw yourself in situations you may not necessarily want to be in. So it just adds to you, and who you are, and and what you can tell, and the stories you can tell.
So basically look inwards rather than, because a lot of people get aspired by people whom they admire, and they think that they can very quickly just move away from, they feel like they can just jump the steps,
Yeah.
get there very.
I think you're right. There's definitely a balance,
Mm,
because I think that it's important to know the work that has been done in the history of literature or cinema or music or photography, to know that where you and your point of view lies within that whole spectrum.
yeah.
You can't just be, say, for example, photographing people with backdrops in front of backdrops and not knowing that what's the idea of this understanding of the studio system, and why we as people and humans want to be photographed and immortalized with things that we like. Like, I think it's important to really kind of know it all and research and read a lot and everything, and then see where you lie within it. So I
Hmm.
think it's a balance between it all. And I mean, everything nowadays is referenced, and nothing seems original. But then
Yeah.
it's important to know that where your point of view in 2021 fits
Yeah.
the whole spectrum of it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So you need to look inwards and
Yeah.
at the same time
See where you fit in.
see where you fit in. Yeah, no, yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah. So have you kind of documented your experiences? Do you tend to a good experience or a bad experience that you may learn from? Do you tend to uh,
Um,
write it somewhere or?
I think it's definitely with my archive of photography. Like, I've been shooting since I was a teenager. I haven't stopped now, and I'm 33 years old. So it's quite amazing to go back and see my body of photographic of work of photography that I may never really exhibit, but maybe I will when I'm 60. Because I'll have a large body of work of interesting people that I've had the luck of having in my life, over so many several years. And I've learned a lot from all of them. And I think they are, it's interesting to be able to have like photographic memories of it.
Yeah, so
The
that,
fact that I've shot with the same camera and lens for over 15, 20 years, at least there's something consistent.
yeah, wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Shreya. I mean, we could just go on and on and on, but it's just been such a fun conversation. I've really, really enjoyed it. And I'm sure my listeners will also have picked up a lot from your experiences, from what you've had to share. And, and I'm hoping that it will benefit them in some way.
Thank you for having me. I hope I was of some help.
Oh, you're outstanding. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For more weekly conversations, do listen to Melting Pot on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Follow us on YouTube and on Instagram at Podcast Melting Pot. So until the next episode, this is Payal signing off.